Hey, Mr. Klein back here, and we are going to conclude our discussion about measures of central tendency, or the center, by looking at what happens to the center of a distribution when you transform the data. So we're working with our same group of people here. We've got our 25 people with unusual names, and we're looking at their heights in inches. And I don't know if you've ever watched the movie or read the book, Alice in Wonderland, but there is this famous scene where Alice will drink from a vial, and then whatever is in the vial will change the size of her body. Okay, so she grows very tall, and then she shrinks very small. And let's imagine that that's happening. So let's suppose that Alice drinks her first vial, and it causes her to drink or to grow by 10 inches. And let's suppose that that happens to all of the people in our data set. So they're all going to get 10 inches taller. If X is their height, you can see that I wrote X here, then we would call this a shift because it's going to shift each one of their heights over by 10 inches. And that shift would be X plus 10. And rather than manually saying, well, this one would be 76 and this one would be 71 and so on, what we're going to do instead is we're going to say this cell is equal to taking what was in this cell. What is this? C4, and adding 10 to it. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to assume you know that control copy will copy. And then I'm going to cover the rest of the cells in this row, and I'm going to paste them. Okay, so there are our new heights. Ooh, that bugs me that it's got all those borders. There, fixed. Now, when we shifted everybody's height over by 10 inches, everybody's 10 inches taller than they were before, what is that going to do to the measures of center? Well, let's see. Here's the nice thing. Over here, I already put in that originally 66.12 was the mean, the median was this, and the mode was this. I must have changed one of the values. It's different than what we got in the last lesson. Anyway, doesn't matter. What we can do is we can just copy these three formulas. So I'm going to copy them, and then we can move over here, and we can hit paste, and it's automatically, look at this, it's going to go from C4 to C28. Yep, to D4 to D28. All right, so what happened to the mean? What happened to the median? What happened to the mode? Well, you can see that they all also increased by 10 inches. So when you shift each value by some given amount, that means that the center is also going to shift over by that amount. Let's move on. There's a different kinds of transformation called a rescale. Let's suppose that Alice takes her second vial, and this one causes her height to double. So if she was 70 inches tall before, she would now be 140 inches. Well, this is called a rescale. Anytime you are multiplying or dividing, we call that rescaling the data. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to take what was in C4. So I'm using the value that was right here, the original one, 66, and I'm going to multiply by 2, and that gives me 132. Okay. Now let's see what that does to the data. I'm going to copy it, and I am going to paste that all the way down the column, and then I am going to copy these formulas right here. Actually, I'll use these right here. It doesn't actually matter. Copy those. I'm going to paste here. So the mean was 66.12. Now it's 132.24. The median and the mode were both 65. They're now both 130. What happened? Well, once again, they did the same thing that we did to the transformation. If you double each person's height, if you double each value, it will double the center of the data. Last kind of transformation that I want to show you is when we have percentage change. So let's suppose that she takes her third drink, and this one makes everybody 20% shorter. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's stick with that. All right, so you know what? I changed my mind. I want to do taller instead. So if everybody increases by 20% in their height, obviously people that are already taller are going to grow more than people that start off shorter. This is a kind of rescale. And what you have to do is you have to say 20% as a decimal is 0.2. And so what we are doing is rescaling by a factor of, look right here, 1 for their original height plus 0.2. Or in other words, we are multiplying by 1.2. So right here, I'm going to take C4. I'm going to multiply by 1.2. And then I'm going to copy that formula all the way down the page. Okay. And one last time, note that that is going to take each one of our measures of center, the mean, the median, and mode, and it's going to multiply them by 1.2. Now, you notice that I started off with shorter. Let's change it to shorter now. If you want to make people 20% shorter, all you have to do is turn this into a subtraction. So it would be 1 for their height minus the 20% that you're taking away would make this shorter. And now I'm going to take this formula and I'm going to change that to 1 minus 1.2 is 0.8. I'm going to copy that down the page. And notice that one of the nice things about Google Sheets is it's automatically going to change these values over here for me. I don't have to edit anything. So when we learn something on Google Sheets, it's time for us to make note of what we learned. So you've got your notebook out, and I want you to, I'm just filling this out right above where we talked about the outliers. Let's talk about transformations and the center. Well, the first thing that we learned today is that there are two kinds of transformation. There is shifting and there is rescaling. Okay, shifting is when we have addition, we're adding something like adding 10 inches or subtracting. And then rescaling is when we are multiplying each observation or we are dividing. And the thing that we learned today is that both shifting and rescaling will transform the mean, median, and the mode.